your favorite celebrity's favorite jeweler. On this episode of Go Conversations, we sat down with Paul Mazza, a self-made GO in the jewelry industry, to talk about how he went from selling watches on eBay to building a multi-million-dollar jewelry empire. So, for the people at home, tell us a little bit about how you got started in jewelry.
Well, long story short, I was buying and selling jewelry on eBay in the early 2000s, maybe like 2001, 2002. And then I started selling there, and then I met someone from here in the Diamond District, and I came across the country and started working.
I love that. And what kind of pieces were you selling back in the day when you started off on eBay?
Back in the day, there was a lot of Joe Rodeo watches, but like hip hop jewelry, the same type of jewelry, but obviously much smaller pieces. You know, not with the hefty price tags at that time. Maybe if I sold a $4,000 item, I was really happy. You know what I mean?
Okay, and then where did that love for jewelry come from?
My mom instilled it in me. We didn't have much money, but she was always interested in jewelry, and she kind of passed that passion to me. I was able to pick that up, and you know, I set it aside. I didn't, you know, from the time she kind of introduced me to it, I didn't stay on jewelry the whole time, but maybe 10 years later is when I started having a couple dollars and buying some jewelry.
I love that. So mom kind of set the idea in your mind, and then you kept going from there?
Absolutely.
And if it's true, I remember hearing from another interview you did that you were raised by a single mom.
Yep.
Is that true?
Single parent, yeah.
Love
She
that.
worked hard. She made sure we had what we needed to get by and grow.
So this is really like self-made, like you did this.
Yeah, I have no
love-
family in this industry. Yeah, it's completely self-made for the most part. You know, obviously relationships, you know, we always like to say self-made, but the relationships that we build around also facilitate our dreams. So people always contribute, you know. So nothing's really, let's say, self-made, but, you know,
Yeah,
I've been
like-
commandeering the ship.
exactly. And from when you got started, how did you kind of scale your business from there?
I opened this company in the end of 2018, just marketing. We had zero, like maybe 100 followers, let's say. And then I was just marketing and just working hard and communicating and taking jobs and building pieces and marketing it. And that was kind of how we got here today.
And is it true, because I heard from another interview that you're a little bit more of an introvert?
Yeah, super introvert.
So how is that, like just making content and having to market? Because that's a big piece of business.
Yeah, sometimes it's against my nature, right? But the thing is that I know in my business and in my field what I have to do to become who I'm working towards, and that's something that I have to handle and overcome. So, you know, even though I'm an introvert personally, my business forces me to be extrovert.
I love that. And that's important too for people watching at home. You know, sometimes you have to play into your weaknesses and build on them just to grow your business, right?
Yeah, well, anytime you feel uncomfortable, you're really growing. So if you're nervous or you're uncomfortable or something's happening, I think just stay focused, you're on the right path, because at the end you have that experience.
That's true. And then what was the time period where you kind of felt like we made it? Like maybe not necessarily like 100% to where you wanted to be, but it was that reality check.
So I still feel like I'm working hard and I didn't make it at all. I mean, that's the mentality that keeps me going. However, there was a moment that I felt the accolade was great. It was during the Verzuz, and Jim Jones, he came to me and he said he was going to be doing a Verzuz with Dipset versus the Locks, and he had a plan for me, and so I'm very grateful to him because he brought me into that. And that was a moment that was very, not just about the piece of jewelry that he got, but also the moment in time, the center of the culture, and that it was iconic night, right? It's Madison Square Garden, and it was something big for hip hop. So it was great to be a part of it, right? Like forever I'll be the one that did that. So it was a nice moment. I had a good feeling.
You're super humble, but that was like a moment in time, like New York, Dipset,
Yes.
Locks, they called out your name. That was huge. That was like the most New York thing I've ever seen. But
Yeah, the most interesting thing was that after that happened, then Jadakiss contacted me. So now I work with Jadakiss a lot. I'm building him a piece now. You know, he's grabbed a couple watches. So it's a great, I've been able to build the relationship on both sides, which is amazing.
I saw, and I think you made some championship rings for the Locks too, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
those were one-offs. Like so there was 3 of them, but each one was individually customized for each individual artist, and you know, pertinent to them. This way, it was a special touch.
I love that, and you were good on both sides. So you're good
Yeah,
with
yeah,
this side,
yeah.
you're good with that.
We
You're
stay
good
neutral
everywhere.
here at Mazza. We stay neutral.
I love that. And then that moment, so talking more about that, right? What happened at MSG when Jim Jones put on that chain? He had a lot of chains on.
Yes.
So which one was the one that you customized for that night?
The one was it was his album cover from El Capo, and it was the Day of the Dead, I believe they call it.
Okay.
And it had the guns in the back. It was a beautiful piece. It was artistic. It had like glow in the dark enamel, which I'm known for a lot. So that gives the pieces a little bit of art detail.
Yeah.
And so that was the piece.
So let's get into that, because I think what sets you apart is you're making literally wearable art, right?
Yes.
So they're masterpieces. You put a lot of details into every single piece.
Yes.
So what does that process look like when someone comes and orders a custom pendant?
So the process looks like, obviously they seek us out, we communicate with them, but I would say in order to get to not only an amazing piece of art, but also something that's tailored to let's say a client, you have to ask some questions to them and see who they are, right? Because everything is different. I'm just a tool for someone to be able to create what they want and then wear it. And obviously when you give something to somebody, you want them to be super excited. They get that feeling, right? Like, you know, you don't get those feelings too often. So you want to make sure when you present it, they have that feeling. But the most important thing is asking them questions, figuring out what they like, who they are, and knowing what it is they're looking for so you can portray it in the art.
I love that. And then how long does that process take from like conception to finish? You're passing off the pendant.
Depending on the project, could be anywhere from 4 to 12 weeks.
Okay.
And on a very complicated project, maybe sometimes 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on what the details are. You know, as you're building something too, you hit different steps. So sometimes you may be building something, get up to step 22 and realize you have to change something somewhere. And if you're a good artist, you'll change it. You won't leave it and just hope that, you know, nobody
They like
notices.
it, or yeah. And then do you have any art background? Because obviously you're super creative, but...
No, I just have a great imagination. I was an only child, and I spent a lot of time alone or outside alone, so I was able to see things before I created them. So I can kind of, when I'm talking to somebody, I could see already the piece and articulate it in a manner that they understand it, and then that's kind of where the vision comes from.
I love that. And what were you doing before selling jewelry?
Oof, man, I did a bunch of stuff. I had a bodega at one point. I mean, I odds and end jobs, really. You know what I mean? Just, I was always an entrepreneur at heart and always kind of made my own path, and you know, just stayed focused on who I was and trying to always build. I was not one for authority, so it was better that I took my own journey.
You paved your own way.
Yeah. I did it unconventionally, but I did it.
And it worked out?
It's
clearly?
working out.
Working
Yes, it's working out. I got a great team of people. So
let's talk about some of those clients that you have, right?
Yes.
You have some of the biggest names in the industry, musicians, athletes.
Yes.
So can you talk to us about a few of those clients that you've had?
We've done a piece for Dak Prescott in commemoration of his brother that had passed away. We worked Jim Jones, Joel Santana, Jadakiss, Dave East, Millie's, which is an amazing artist, Mano, the list goes on. We also made a piece for Drake. We made a bracelet.
Humbly throw that in there.
I actually forget about that one, to be honest with you. But yeah, we created a really nice piece to commemorate him at his Apollo appearance with Dipset. It was interesting. It had his logo along with the Apollo Theater.
Oh, wow.
And the Dipset bird. So it was a special moment for the night. You know what I mean? It was something to commemorate him. doing Apollo, because the Apollo is the center of the culture. It's an amazing space, you know. The energy there is amazing. It doesn't have to be a huge stadium. It's something special that attracts someone like Drake to still come and still do a show there, even though obviously he could sell out
100%.
you know,
I was there
much bigger
actually.
crowd. Oh
Yeah,
wow!
yeah. So I felt the energy. They came out. They had the bodega set. So it was super
Yeah.
New York. It was like emblematic.
Done very well. Yeah, I mean it's organized. It's an organized show. It's Drake, right? He's like,
Yeah.
I don't know who's better than him. I don't know who's bigger, you know. And the production was great, but just a meaningful moment to be there, and it's cool to be a part of all these things on the backside, you know, to be able to know the people personally and be able to have relationships with them. That's really the blessing here.
So let's talk about that, because I know you're big on relationships, right?
Absolutely.
You just said it. You know, a lot of people say they're self-made, but your team has helped you out along the way, people you've met. So how important are relationships in this industry, and how do you personally build those up?
Relationships in life are extremely important, because, you know, I mean, people that base things on money, the money comes and it goes. If you have relationships, you can always get the money back through relationships and through doing things. I think what's important is that anytime someone extends an open relationship, to be able to build and connect, and especially high level people, you never want to burn that bridge or take it for granted. You always want to have it there if it's possible, you know. And if it's not, then it's not. But I mean, for myself, I just make sure to always be able to help them whatever way I can, be there for them when they contact me. I mean, those are really the most important things.
And I think, so a big reason why we do this show is just to kind of inspire people at home, people that are looking to go into entrepreneurship, people that are looking to pave their own path like you have.
Yes.
So it's really important to, I think, a lot of times we speak to people that are super extroverted, and, you know, you don't always have to be the loudest person in the room, right? It's just the energy and the kind of motivations that you bring forward that make the difference.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't have to be the loudest person in the room to carry presence.
Yep.
You know, I think sometimes saying less is saying more.
100%.
You know, and the peers will judge you. So if you're around people and your peers are judging you and you hear their talk, and positive, not positive, any attention is something that, you know what I mean, that's gonna fuel you. You know, your peers will judge you and tell you who you are.
100%. And then what do you think sets you apart, besides the energy, besides the authenticity, from other jewelers in the game?
I mean, I don't know about setting me apart. I'm just my own lane, right? I think most importantly, I don't worry about what the other person is doing or what the competition is doing. I always stay focused, because there's less traffic in my lane. So the reality is I just try to stay focused and stay authentic to who I am. Because as long as I'm authentic to who I am, and if I can do business with people, they'll accept me. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be anything I'm not. I'm not trying to make it look like anything it's not. I'm kind of subtle, but I just want to make sure I'm authentic.
I love that. And
I think people respect that.
Yeah, subtle does the job, but your pieces are not subtle. They're great.
Yes.
They stand out.
Yeah, they're extravagant.
They're very
They're extra.
extravagant.
They're extra.
Very extra, but beautiful and well made, well crafted. So let's talk a little bit about your pieces and the most expensive piece that you have ever sold or made.
So, I mean, I've made a ring that was $750,000. The one of the biggest pendants that we made was about $250,000, and it was all emerald cuts. You know, with the chain and everything, was a little over $250,000.
Wow. Okay. And how do those deals happen? Like, do you just like
relationships?
Oh, there you go.
They build off relationships.
Relationships.
I mean, nobody wants to commission anybody for a project that big if they don't have a relationship with them, and if they don't feel comfortable with making a purchase like that. But I mean, the marketing outlets are a lot of the people that come in contact with this business is social media. I think social media, especially if you're a young entrepreneur, is the best way to get your brand out there, get your vision out there, and at least start chipping away at your future.
100%. Do you think the industry has changed since you've started?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
From the style of the jewelry to the capability of the jewelry to the colors of gold that are in, to everything. I mean, when I started, if you had a nice watch, it was a Jacob & Co. And then you went down the line, Joe Rodeo, Aquamaster, and these things. And this was what people were wearing. And then some Rolex in between, but they were smaller. I mean, now the watch game is so different. I mean, you have people wearing Patek Philippe's and Richard Milles, and now we're talking about, $250,000 watches, when these watches back then were $8,000-9,000. So that's a big change. That it shows that the progression of the consumer.
Yep.
That they're able to have, these watches that are six figures and up, and comparatively to years ago when, you sold a $10,000 watch, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, and I mean, and for some people, that's still a big watch, right?
Absolutely.
So what would you recommend for people that are looking to get into the jewelry investing game? Like, what should they be looking for? What's something that can actually be an appreciating asset versus...
I think figure out what article of jewelry they're interested in, and then from there go and buy like a more investment-wise product, like a gold chain. Nobody can go wrong with that. You get yourself a nice 14 or 18 karat gold chain, if you're looking to get into the industry and kind of, make a purchase, and that's always going to appreciate over time. You're never going to have a problem. Obviously the more ornate that you go with the pieces, the more extravagant, and you start having diamonds and then you're doing custom work, you're getting a lot of material, but now you're also putting, integrity value in it, and there's a lot of production to that,
And for your personal collection, do you have any? What are your pieces? Do you have any pieces?
For my personal collection, I don't have anything. If I'm gonna wear a watch like this watch here, I'll grab it and wear it for my business. Okay. I started working on a pendant for myself about 5 years ago.
That's a long time.
Yeah, and I'm still working on it. I made some changes and I've left it, but just like, I can't see working on something for myself when I'm always surrounded by projects that I have to finish for people. I can't take time for myself. I have, clients that I have to commit to, and, I'd rather put my creative energy into that and make sure they're good. Okay. It's got to be special. It's been 5 years. I mean, if I can't make it special, then.
That's true. Yeah. Any hints? I know obviously you're not going to reveal anything about it now, but just like some elements that you're throwing in there.
It's a crest.
Okay.
And it tells a story.
Okay.
No details, but
no details.
Yeah, but it makes sense, and it's a story of my journey.
I love it. So we'll see it when it comes out.
Yes, absolutely.
And as far as just the way the game has changed, how did the pandemic affect your business?
The pandemic?
Yeah.
So the pandemic, I mean, at first it affected it obviously by confining it, and it was shut down during the city being closed. But as things opened up, my business thankfully exploded. And that was probably a big part of why the business kind of grew in the manner it did, because there was a lot of exposure at that time. I think just the way the economy was flowing was different, and I think people were spending money in a different manner, so it was consistently going into the economy and rotating, where, I think if that didn't happen, the catalog of jewelry wouldn't be here necessarily, the whole catalog, So I think and sadly, unfortunately, we know the pandemic, what it really stood for was the COVID-19, and people lost their lives, and it's a really sad thing. But I think for certain businesses, it helped out in certain industries.
Changed the world.
Yeah, it changed the world completely. I mean, look, that was the first time, and I had seen people using Zoom and all this stuff prior, but that was the first time that it really was embraced thoroughly, and also, people were using it a lot more, and also revamping it and updating it, and there was that was a big part of the growth as well, the technology.
Yeah, that makes sense. And going back to pieces that you've made, right? We talked about your most expensive. What about the craziest piece that anyone has ever asked you for, or one of them that you could talk about?
Well, I mean, one of the craziest pieces, I guess there was a gentleman that had an adult toy company, and so we made like his logo, which was in the shape of a certain organ, but in general, that it was very it was tasteful in some manner. probably sounds worse than
You guys
what-
put like your artistic edge on it.
Yeah. I mean, we did.
As tasteful as adult toys could be, you guys
Yeah.
made it happen. You finessed it.
Correct. We finessed it.
I love that. And then just in terms of like how the business is, because this is something that you guys carry a lot of valuable items here, right?
Yes.
How does safety work for you? Is that ever a concern? How do you guys watch your back?
So the building has its own security, and then you have a trap door here. So when you come in, you're in a vestibule. You have to get buzzed into both doors. And obviously on this block, there's a lot of security from the city and also from this block itself. And I think the most important thing when you're moving around a lot or you're outside, and I just stay cautious and understand that it's a high risk business, and make sure that you're always paying attention to your surroundings, not not just having tunnel vision, but actually seeing what's surrounding you.
Yeah.
But it is, it's a concern, but it's not going to stop me from growing.
Yeah, and I asked because obviously it's a tricky balance because you guys have to market a lot, right? You have to put your content out there. Everybody has to see what you guys have, but at the same time, like
you have to expose yourself, and you have to think
risk.
about when you expose yourself, and this goes for anybody out there. If you're exposing something, you have to think about, you're targeting an audience, but you have to think about everybody else that also is watching it, right? And you have to take all that into consideration and know that that's just part of the game.
Absolutely. And aside from security, what would you say is the toughest part of the job?
Pleasing everybody. And making sure that you make everybody's experience perfect. It takes a lot of energy, no matter what day you're having and what's going on. If you're having a bad day or if something's happening, when somebody walks in the business, you make sure that that they feel like they're the only one there. You know what I mean? And so you have to change up how you may feel to accommodate someone.
100%. And for you, how do you think you've evolved throughout this journey of getting to where you are now? I know you said you still have ways to go, but
I think embracing just being an owner, a leader, a boss, and knowing that you have to embrace that role, and you there's no half stepping on that manner. So when you do something, you have to understand what you're embarking on, and make sure that you stay focused and you take care of it. You can't do it half-ass, let's say.
100%. And what advice would you give to people, maybe not necessarily looking to get into the jewelry industry, but just looking to become entrepreneurs, people that are hustling, grinding on the come up like you were?
Develop a plan. Stay focused. Don't give up. And just make sure that no matter how hard it gets, you push forward. I think that's the best way, because it's not always fun. A lot of times it's stressful, and you'll go home with carrying the stress, and nobody else would understand. They're not living that moment. They're not living the feeling. So I think just not getting discouraged and understanding that everything you overcome is for a reason.
And I think that's a big piece that a lot of entrepreneurs we speak to mention, right? So everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, especially after the pandemic. Everybody wants to be a boss, but there is a lot of responsibility that comes with it, and the business is 24/7, right? Like you're not punching in and
24/7.
out. You're always in your business.
You have employees that you have to make sure they're covered. Paid days, they gotta be paid, and you have bills. And the bigger your business gets, the more the bills cost. So the more responsibility you have, and that's why I said embracing it, because you have to understand what you're embarking, and then you have to fully commit and own it. You have to own it. It's not easy, but it's rewarding. Could be.
So what's your favorite part of the job? We talked about the tough parts, but I know a lot of rewarding stuff.
Yeah, I think the people.
Okay.
I think the people are the best. Like, from the team here and from the people that make this business up, and we go to these events, and everybody's down to do what they have to do. But also the people I get to interact with. Everybody's a high level human. Certain people I get that I'm fans of their music, their art, and I get to actually build great relationships with them and talk to them on a regular basis, go to their homes. I know their families. So that's I think pretty special.
I love that. And this is GOAT Conversations. So who would you consider your top GOAT, dead or alive?
In jewelry?
And could be jewelry, could be life, whatever. Or maybe you could give us one jewelry and one just.
I would have to commend Jacob the jeweler
Okay.
for this particular industry and jewelry for what he brought and the scale that he presented it. You know, as far as life.
Could be music, could be just anyone or
You know,
anything.
I don't look to anybody really for the inspiration. I just kind of dig deep in myself and find it. Not to say there's not things that I don't take from certain people, but I think really not focusing on one person or the go. You know what I mean? Everybody has their own attributes that they provide to the universe.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, what are you working on next? What's coming up for Mazza?
Well, we have a lot of things planned, a lot of surprises. Make sure everybody stays tuned. You know, just really putting out a lot of good jewelry, a lot of good content. We're going to be moving shortly. We're creating a new line we're going to be launching here in the next couple months that I'm excited for. So that's it, really.